Sambodanti Green. Unchan. Yapilan. It's true, as you pointed out, I'm representing South Africa, but I'm also representing, believe it or not, USA. And USA stands for United States of Africa. Because what is the beautiful thing we have here? It's all the people from different African countries, all the poets. And though we may have borders on the map, there are no borders here tonight. There are no borders among the poets. And even this country extends beyond Africa to the world. There are no borders between any of us poets. It's a nation without borders. We are one nation. I live in a house full of spiders with lightning poised above my head, and a broken sea filters through my palms. I live a life short as a rowing boat caught on the sea. People walk by with loud mouths, proclaiming truth, and all I feel is a pain spreading across town, dying people adrift on nostalgia. I walk by a woman who breathes not into her skin, and the carbon dioxide of defeated dreams. And I must change myself, morphing daily. I've come and gone like this. I've come and gone like this. The killers shoot street corners, and people every day die of clichés, and eternity is suspended above my head like a collapsing church. I can stay here like a mirror reflecting distant light and eternal dreams, yet I can't hold my conscience in stillness. Nor can I define who you really are. I walk by a woman who breathes not into her skin and the carbon dioxide of defeated dreams, and I must change myself, morphing daily. I've come and gone like this. I have come and gone like this. That's the first poem, called My Story. They say that the shortest distance between 2 points is called a straight line. But I'll linger long, oh so carefully, over the curve of your body. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't know me. That's one thing I love about you. There's too much in your eyes already, and they could be so neutral. Your smile, a mouth full of stars, crying at a lucid dawn, torn with beauty and pain, and a landscape of dreams dying into a wilderness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your nakedness does not embarrass me, for I've seen the image of your soul in the streets, in your embrace of infinity, and the hungry mouths of children crying at a dying sun. There's a silent place between us, words never touched anyway. There's always been a part of your beauty unfathomable, and I liked it that way. I will trespass the night's unbroken borders, penetrate the wall barriers of sense, into the forbidden cities, and the continents will clash in our touch. You don't know me. That's one thing I love about you. That's a little piece, believe it or not, by the name of geometry. And the geometry basically being the sort of the juxtaposition of straight lines and curves. I am a man who speaks a burning sound of memory, who memorizes locations in the burning holes that swallow light in the cool voids of his palms that escape cities and cataracts of being, and streets loaded with war and violence, in history of unspoken names, in villages brutalized by hunger and the famine of identity, whose reality is beyond the ash of his lips and the burning sky that heaves inside his chest like an imprisoned hand. I am a man who has been mistaken for many others who have gone into a town like night and not returned. A man who takes taxis into the roofless unknown. A man who is like a woman into his bones and an animal in his mouth, possessing roads and hunger. And yet I can't escape traps and salt rain in this basalt landscape. I'm a man who asks himself, where do I begin and where do I end? Where does history get off my back? Like a fire consume a country in a nervous condition, that is memory. I want to say, leave me alone. Breathe an ocean in your eyes. Turn laughter into the thunder of memory. Unfold me in pain and beyond words. Remind me of who I was before I was here. I'm a man who, when he is in one place, wants to be in another. When I'm with you, I think I'm with God. And when I'm with God, I think I'm with you. Yeah. Early on today, I was visiting a school it was on Bilo Secondary, and one of the questions one of the pupils asked is, what is poetry? How do you define poetry? And I think that's the wonderful and amazing thing, that with poetry, there's a great diversity of styles, of genres, of ways of approaching poetry. To such an extent that, like, for example, myself, I find it hard to stick to one style, one genre of poetry. So basically, this set is going to show a bit of the different styles that I do in my poetry. So the next 3 poems are actually going to be with music, and they're going to be very different. The first one is going to be called Bone COS. Okay, you can hit it. Bone COS, she's the vivid creative lines, unbound by time and temporal dimensions. Israel and Pagat, Israel Abantu, Israel and Kulaleko. The 4-dimensional word, knowing yearnings of the self, the energy of creation, the mind rebelling against frustration and asserting self. The spine directed to the universe's umbilical cord. In Bone COS, you speak rumblings of an unborn unity, play melodies across the stages, bitter and burn navel is the moment's potent intimacy unravels. And she is all human, all woman, all real. Bone COS. Nazoge. You don't have to be afraid, you can dance. Feel free to dance if you like. Feel free to dance, clap, enjoy the music. She's the vivid creative lines, unbound by time and temporal dimensions. Israel and Pagat, Israel and Bantu, Israel and Kulaleko. She is freedom and yet she is not there. It is her voice expressing the absences in us, her hands expressing the pain in us, her words weaving the landscape of our dreams and pain. Her silence is building the road between self and self, her movement the freedom. And she is all human, all woman, all real. Yeah, she is all human, all woman, all real. In Bone COS. Nazoge. There was a check called Bone COS. And what's the inspiration behind that check? Is all the wonderful and strong woman figures in our South African history that have helped transform our nation. Be they cultural, be they historic, that's what this check is dedicated to. The next check I'll be performing is a poem. It's called There's a Time. And basically with There's a Time, it expresses a lot of what I feel about, like, for example, history and politics. how when you look at reality, there's good things unfolding and bad things at once. The two things are always happening at the same time. Sometimes we tend to look at things, for example, media will focus on only negative or only positive. But in reality, life, we've got these two processes that are happening at the same time. And when you look at existence as well, pluralities and polarities, they're often joined together in a complex manner. So you can, next track, There's a Time. There is a time, blatant like the river, passing to the sea, and amiable like the mercy of all, cool water. There is a time, brutal like mirrors, and sharp like human bones, and words rising like anger from the grave. There is a time like dying houses, and all things passing, a sky stabbed in it, and a land not yet spoken, and roads made of salt that rise from the eye. Yes, oh yeah, there is a time. There is a time, dying, a cancer within us, a mountain imposed on my soul's hands. Like living nails, a darkness breathing in and out the mouth. Like a venomous spider into the streets. Without fear or passion, a time of love and poison, of words and anger, pushing crowds going forward into history and dying to existence. There is a time. Yes, oh yeah, there is a time. That is a track called There Is a Time. And I'm going to follow it with a very short poem, one of the shortest poems I've ever written. Very short poem. The moon passes from hand to hand, and still nobody knows the name of the dark. That's it. Which census will count my hand's desire? Which government official the parabellum of your body, smooth and brown and wet in air, moving through air into fading sunlights? The lucid intervals of speech that quiver in the air, the potent touch of your fingers invisible to the punctured beliefs. A mountain full in a musk, pain blinked in veins, roots stirred in political hunger. Why such vulnerability, leaning against the wall, words lost in need? There were sounds between the windows. I combed the blind flesh nervously, counting renegade dreams. The real evil is perfection. The hungry plague climbs the spine stair in air, within air. Yeah. The next track I'll be performing, there's quite a very interesting story behind it. And it goes back to the story of what is poetry. And poetry ultimately is about reality. It's about talking about what you experience, what's in front of you, what you live. You can't write about something if you haven't really experienced or felt it in your blood. And this next track is about journeys, but not just journeys in a metaphorical sense, but literally about journeys. It's about journeying in a taxi, and it's an experience that I have had many times. And it's a very kind of humorous poem, but talks about reality and why I wrote this poem. When I thought about the taxi, it's like a journey. We are in this physical space of the taxi. There are different people. And this really stands for like the South African nation, that we are in one physical space, but we're going in one direction. And in this poem, one of the messages I say is, Sizohamba noma kanjani. And that's my message to people. We have many obstacles in life. We have many challenges. There are many things this nation faces, that the continent faces, that the world faces. But we as people, Sizohamba noma kanjani. We must keep going forward. We must be strong. We must be united. So the next track is called Taxi Ride. You can hit it. Ngizobamba tegis, mina nesithandwa sami, the kind that fire one time, with style that's alarm, the kind that makes my body move, and she's a sperm, the kind that makes lovers groove, that is yum. If you don't have a car, you will understand. Fuck all starchy, eat high heels girls, come on, take my hands, your life it's your own, but now it's in God's hands. Abancane abadala musukusala lethi imali yakho sizohamba noma kanjani sizohamba noma kanjani sizohamba noma kanjani sizohamba
Kibele na okhala fokola hayibo ngiyiphinda ayinakuliza ngwezethu
hey wena musukhuluma nonsense uzothola impam uma ngidrive ngisaba lutho ishisa yami pam. I'm the experienced cheater uzobona zonke isikhathi ngiskoko mina. I'm known to lump guards. Before you criticize me buthi was a tatty wheel ngicela ufake brakes and see how you feel. Abancane abadala musukusala lethi imali yakho sizohamba noma kanjani sizohamba noma kanjani sizohamba noma kanjani sizohamba. I know this is a poetry event, but feel free to dance. Anyone wants to come forward, come forward. Feel it. Who wants to come dance, come dance. The seat's not too soft, sit next and tough, you will make new friends. I sing Pozino Kolok, you can meet your wife today, that stranger in the taxi, read your destiny in the veins, or your barber too much into Kazi, for the people who say Spali, for all into Kazi, all the people I know, won't come on to give my zero, for the daddy drive up and down, cool fights with his cats, or a driver. For lumpa gods, abancane abadala musukusala lethi imali yakho sizohamba noma kanjani sizohamba noma kanjani sizohamba noma kanjani. Abancane abadala musukusala lethi imali yakho sizohamba noma kanjani sizohamba noma kanjani sizohamba. Siyabonga kakhulu, thank you very much. Yeah. 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 I think I ought to maybe possibly finish with one more spoken word poem, I think. Yeah. Woman whose words contain night in its restless beauty, whose tongue speak history and its reality in the present moment, whose forms burst into humanity yearning for knowledge of self, whose eyes contain fierce eternities knowing the darkness before light, the sounds behind praise, the hunger within form, walk the streets of kwaSwayimane, calm, unreluctant, translucent, their dreams and their flesh forward. Their surnames are Zondi, Umis and Tuli, Obert Lamin, Shangas, Koala, salty skins cry, memory to the moment, both spiritual and physical. These are the queens of my blood. In school uniforms, their brown skin burns through what mother sowed, meets the future urgently with need. These are the queens of my blood. Their mother's putu is a marvel, strengthens the nation in its salty simplicity. These are the queens of my blood. They nurse beakers in their breasts, nurtured on the milk of struggle, and the marrow of history permeates their bones. These are the queens of my blood. I say, blessed are the daughters of kwaSwayimane, for these are the queens of my blood. Siyabonga kakhulu. Yeah. 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 And just a little bit of like biographical info about that poem. It's inspired by the community where my wife, Mazondi, comes from, kwaSwayimane, and where I actually was staying until a couple of weeks ago. So that's actually the place I was staying for quite a while, but I've got a feeling I'm going to be moving back next year. This Cape thing, I think, is just a temporary thing because there's too much heat here in KZN. There's too much love, too much warmth. This is my home. When I check around, I see this is my turf. So yeah, you're not going to lose me at all. Siyabonga kakhulu. God bless. Yeah.